Good morning, Michael. Today we're going to talk about your upcoming article on resilience, where you share a bit about your journey to becoming a collegiate basketball player, specifically one on scholarship, which is a goal that you had set for yourself at a young age. So we're going to dive right into some questions. You use your personal story as a way to describe the lesson you learned about the importance of resilience and how you're living that out today as a business owner, as a father, still as an athlete in a competitive but not a collegiate level. I would like for you to describe the relationship between struggle or adversity and resilience and how both are needed.
Struggle and adversity is where leadership begins to occur. Without struggle, without resilience, you cannot lead effectively, because by definition, leadership is out in front. You're out in front trying to do something to make the world a better place. Anytime you try to make the world a better place, struggle is imminent, because the world will resist that. Anytime you try to do something different, whether it's in your own mind or it's in your environment, there's going to be struggle and resistance to change. How do you overcome that? It's resilience. And that means that the change that you want to see in the world, what you envision, is greater than the pain of staying the same. And so resilience then helps you overcome the challenges, because resilience is based in the purposes and the vision of what you see the future as it should be, not as it is, but as it should be. And so resilience and struggle are really key concomitants of leadership.
Now, in your personal story, there's a critical moment where you're walked onto the team, you're struggling in the first few weeks of practice, you know that the spotlight is, so to speak, on you, because you have to prove yourself or else you're just going to stay at the bottom of that list. And you get to the point where you're considering quitting because the pain is so great. And you just kind of described that the pain has to get so tough or challenging that you have to overcome. And so tell us about that moment. Who did you go to? What was the advice you were given in that moment that really taught you that lesson and shifted your perspective?
When I was 9 years old, I had a dream to play college basketball on a scholarship. And I wasn't a guy that just talked about it. I was about it. I worked all the time. So to be put in a position where I feel like I'm finally going to live my dream, and I'm in front of a coach that says, Michael, you'll probably never see time here, but you're a leader, you're a man of character, so I want you to be on the team. And that was the only reason I made the team, was because of my character. And so I'm on the team, and then to be told that by the person who has control over your dream that you are not going to see time, then made me question everything. And it made me question, am I good enough? And going to my dad was one of the most pivotal moments, because I sat down with my dad. My dad was always really good to hear you out and then give you the bold-faced truth. Sit down with him, and I said, Dad, this is what's going on. This is what the coach said. He said, that's tough. That's the tough thing to hear. You have worked hard. And then he asked me the most important question, which is, what will happen if you quit? I worked through a couple things. Hey, if I quit, I'll focus on my academics. I can maybe get into I can play intramurals. I can still play ball. It's just be in a different way. And as we worked through that, the dawning moment hit me, which was, I will live with significant regret. I did not want to be the guy on the bar stool looking at other guys going, I could have, if I would have stuck it out, I could have, should have, would have. I didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to say I lived my dream. And my dad and I talked through it, and he said, Michael, how about this? Instead of focusing on whether or not you're ever going to play here, focus on what you can control. And that is, every day you go in there and you just work as hard as you can. You do whatever you can, whenever you can, for whomever you can, and however you can. Every single day you walk in as if you're about to start a game. Go in with that mentality every day with that same energy. And that was the moment that changed everything, was the day I decided to be resilient.
You talked about how your leader, your coach, really put a lid on you. Mm-hmm. He somewhat said, this is where you'll stop. Mm-hmm. Tell me how that was a lesson for you of how you don't want to lead your current team. What do you do now when you communicate an individual's potential, especially when you're in the muck and you're in the trenches? How do you communicate a person's potential and almost believe on their behalf about their potential for resilience, whereas your coach didn't really model that?
Most of the time, including on my own team, I am a lid to my team at times. I don't mean to be, but I am. And there's things that I don't know. There are things in what we talk about in high performance, the Johari window, things that are unseen by me that I could be a lid. However, overall, I think I'm a very good leader. I'm doing okay for myself. And it's because I believe in people often more than they believe in themselves. Belief is the precedent of all action. It's the precedent of all action. What I had determined about my coach, he did not believe in me.
And you had to resolve that in yourself.
I had to resolve that in myself.
That's the leader I have.
He does not believe in me. And then to be logical, why would he? Why would he? He's got athletes that are 10 times more athletic than me. He's got people who are better shooters than me. He had people that could dribble better than me, that were faster than me. Why would he believe in me when he's got this? And to put myself in his shoes changed a lot. The other thing was, I sat down with my coach. What is it that you want? And he started telling me, I want my teams to do what I'm asking them to do. I want people to follow the systems and the processes we put in place. He wanted control. He wanted and that was his prerogative. He's the one in charge. He also wanted you to watch film. I would go in his office almost every day and watch film. Wow. Not because I want to kiss his butt. It's because I wanted to give him what he wanted as a leader and to put our organization in the best position to succeed. What do? I surrender and I sell out to what the leader is asking me to do. If it fails, who's it on? It's not on me. I did my part. It's on him. My job is to control this and this.
So it sounds to me that since you were a young man, you had this philosophy that we often talk about at High Performance, that one of the leader's core job is to put his or her team members, who he or she is in charge of, in the best position to succeed. And you almost did that from almost like an employee or a player position to the coach. You almost went upward and said, hey, I'm going to do that for him. What does he want? What is his vision? How can I submit to that? And then ultimately resolve, I can't change that, but all you can control is kind of what your dad encouraged you to do, is show up every single day. Now that you are leading, you still approach it the same way. Yep. Hey, how can I put my team in the best position to succeed? Although you now have the ultimate vision, and then people are following you. Let's go to the next question. I want to focus in on the three key areas that you ask individuals who want to grow in leadership to focus on, and you ask us to evaluate our commitments. How do we really evaluate and stay focused on that one thing?
It's really to decide whether or not the change that you want to see is worth the pain of gaining resilience. You have to decide that. Everybody has to decide. If you believe enough in what you see in your mind's eye for the preferred future that you want, in order to dig in and actually be committed. Commitment does not look like somebody standing on top of a podium getting a medal. What it looks like is you waking up every single day and deciding to believe. That's what I think most people miss, is you decide to believe. And you can decide to believe that the world is a miserable place and it's going to beat you to your knees every chance it gets, and I can never overcome. You get to decide that. Mm-hmm. Or you get to decide whether or not you're powerful and you're going to believe in spite of the unbelief that is around you. And the important science behind this is belief is the precedent of all action. Our beliefs turns into thoughts, which turns into a cacophony of chemicals that go through our body, which then turn into actions, which then turn into results, which then reinforces the behavior, the thoughts, and the belief.
In order for you to really take a hard look at your commitments, it really starts with your belief. Because your belief about yourself, about the world, leads to thoughts, then leads to actions, and that ultimately leads to you deciding where you put your time.
Your commitment has to be to you. I did not want to live with regret. Yeah. I was committed to doing whatever it took because I did not want to live with regret. And that's what people have to decide. Are you committed enough to yourself, to the life that you want, to the business you want, to the leader you want to be? Are you committed to that? Yeah. And that's where it really takes off.
Listeners are going to want to know, be practical with me. That's great theory, but what do you actually do to evaluate? And I know that you've shared in the past that you typically, do an evaluation every Sunday. Hey, how did my last week go? What's my next week looking like? And then every day you put together a daily action plan. First thing in the morning about, your top 3 priorities. What are some of the obstacles that are getting your way? So that's a practical tip for those listening. Let's move on to the second key area of focus. And you talk about forgiveness. Just talk to us a little bit about the role forgiveness of self and others plays in resilience.
For me to be an effective member of that team, I had to, every time I gave all of myself, I had to forgive others of their part in my results. I had to forgive my coach every single day for my expectations of my results. I put him in a pedestal at first, and I almost allowed the results that he had projected to cause me to quit. Mm-hmm. But I had to forgive him every day and forgive my teammates and forgive myself of my expectations of results.
What did that look like? Were you running down the court, like waiting for the ball to be passed?
Every day I journaled. I would journal in red pen sometimes when I had real anger and emotion because it was painful. I didn't want to forgive them. I didn't want to forgive anybody. I wanted to be resentful. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to be bitter. I wanted to be frustrated. And here's the key with forgiveness. You have to, once you fall off the wagon, you have to get right back on. Right back on. That's part of resilience. Every time you fall off, you catch it and you get right back on.
So you're saying there were moments where you held some bitterness, but
I would write out forgiveness in my journal. I forgive this person. This is how angry I am. This is why I'm angry. This is how they treated me. I don't like it, but I forgive them.
And it took some time, and you had to get back on and commit to the belief that forgiveness was going to pay off in the long run.
And one thing with forgiveness, you don't always feel it emotionally. It may take you a month to actually feel it in your chemical disposition.
Let's head to the last one. How do you really create a culture of tenacity where in the midst of overwhelming circumstances, how do you encourage your team and create belief that, hey, sticking to the plow, committing to our disciplines is going to pay off?
Tenacity comes in 3 forms. You have common vision. Got to have a common vision, keeping your team informed, but you also have to have a clarity of vision that is transcendent to your current state. You have to be able to see it. You have to be able to see it in your mind's eye. Second is enemies. You got to know who your enemies are. My enemies are in here. My enemy is the guy that I look at in the mirror every day. That's my greatest enemy. He's also my greatest friend. But you have to know who your enemies are. And then finally, ultimatums, deadlines. Put it on a clock, and I have a scarce amount of time. I either do or I don't. And you keep those shorter and shorter and shorter. To develop true tenacity, you got to have those a little bit every day. When I'm tenacious, I believe I am powerful. I act out of being powerful versus powerless. That's being tenacious.
Man, there's so many elements of leadership that you brought up as it relates to resilience, the importance of embracing adversity. Because you may not see resilience in yourself, but if you're facing adversity, you have to know that embracing that is going to result in more resilience. It's kind of a paradox. Being a leader is knowing and embracing the fact that this world and how we develop and work within teams toward a common goal, there's some paradoxes. Like even that idea that we may be our own worst enemy, at times, but also our greatest friend. Like that's hard to exist in. The fact that everyone on our team, the people we're leading, they also have that reality they're living in. It's important for us to know that, hey, if you want resilience, which is a great character trait, you got to really be in the trenches during adversity and be willing to keep going. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Michael, for writing this article and for really sharing a bit about your story and giving us your time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
All right.
Follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook to learn more about our events and programs, and subscribe to this YouTube channel and click the bell icon to receive notifications for the Leadership Action Step video every month.